It has to go out, but I'll tell you when it goes out because I've got you belled.
Okay.
So if we need music, I got music. You just let me know.
I bet. Nah, you good. You good. What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Entre Mike. You know, since it's already gonna be recorded, you know, but some people still they gonna come in. Yeah, I don't trust me. I know people gonna come in.
Yeah. So you just went live now. So
okay.
Let's do this.
I don't trust me.
All right.
I'm here. What's good? What's good, Solo Dolo? Yo, if you got any questions, we got Sage, the freight broker here.
Don't hang up yet. Don't hang up. I'm a good guy. I know. I'm a good guy. Don't leave. Don't leave.
We gotta talk about these rates, y'all. We gotta get the truth from a professional. You know, we gotta stop coming from a carrier perspective because it's tainting the image of brokers in the industry. You know.
Yeah, it's a difficult process. It's a lot, and like I said, it's a lot to understand in regards to for the brokering side from the trucking side. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we can wait for some people to come in. That way, we're not repeating ourselves a little bit. But there's a lot to understand on this end. That it takes time. But once you understand it, it ends up making you a better carrier.
Okay.
More information. So. As I would see, we got 14 watching. Make sure you guys hit the like button. That like button helps out a lot for him to get some notification and stuff. So as you walk in there, you can
hit the like button. It helps with the algorithm.
That helps big time.
Yo, Jim, we're gonna get into all of that. Yo, Sage, do I already have it to where the comments are coming on the bottom? Or
yes, what you're gonna do is you're gonna click
on the banners.
Yeah, just not the banner, but you just pick a comment and click on it.
Okay, that's what's up. Okay.
And it'll pop up.
So we'll probably just start from right here, you know, because that's a pretty good question.
Actually, I can't read. Oh, there it is.
See it.
How did us start?
Those, yeah. I think the S is messed up. I think he meant you.
How did I start as a broker? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me get into my little backstory so you guys all know where I'm coming from so you understand. So on YouTube, I'm the Great Freight Sage Logic. I'm not a moderator, but I can't put it in there. But just so you guys know, when I was 20 years old, I got my CDLB. And then from there, I got my CDLA when I was 21. So I have a CDL license. I drove over the road for Schneider. After I got off the road, for Schneider, I came and took a local jobs. I drove for a local LTL company, and then I also drove for U.S. Food Service. I went from U.S. Food Service, and I joined the U.S. Coast Guard. I was a federal law enforcement officer in the Coast Guard. I left the Coast Guard and went back into trucking. I drove for CR England for about 3 minutes. I decided, oh, no, not for me. And then I bought my own truck. And then when I bought my own truck, I drove for FedEx Custom Critical. Then I went to Landstar. I drove for Landstar, and my wife became a Landstar agent. And this was back in 2008. So 2008 was the recession. And my wife, she has panic attacks and anxiety, so I had to decide to work from home. So what happened was we had to make a decision, either push my agency or get back in the truck. So I ended up giving back the truck because, you know, and I ended up paying $5,000 and bought my way out of the truck. And we both became Landstar agents. So me and my wife, we were $1 million agents for Landstar, and I got my own brokerage. I opened up my own brokerage. So at one point, Landstar didn't like that, so I started specializing in overdimensional freight. And Landstar came to the point that they said, "Hey, either choose us or choose your own brokerage." Right. Okay. So I'm looking at $5,000 as a Landstar agent and $50,000 as a broker. And I said, goodbye, Landstar. Okay. And so I know the entire Landstar system too, if anybody wants to know. After that, I got my own, moving my own brokerage. I was specializing in oversized freight and things like that. And then I got my own carrier. I had a carrier for about 4 years. And then one of my drivers had to go back and do a local job. And I just decided not to go with another driver. It was hard to try to find drivers to do what I did. And then from there, I've still been brokering, and I'm still brokering today. And now what I'm doing, I'm still an active broker, is I am specializing in teaching carriers how to get their own brokerages.
That's
and
dope.
I
That's
explain the
dope.
importance of that. So that's kind of my background in this industry. So I've been all the way to from driver all the way up, and now I'm going to be doing different. I do a lot of interviews, a lot of videos. I break it down what you're seeing and all the other aspects of that.
Okay, so there's not another question in here lately. I just want to say appreciate you, Texas Slayer. I'm gonna be bringing some more heat in the near future. But so my first question, I guess, would be, why did you stop trucking, man? A lot of my viewers are truckers, so they want to probably know, why did you start your own brokerage? What was wrong with being, an owner operator?
Yeah, for me, it was basically I needed to work from home because of my wife. She couldn't go with me, and she also has like a separation anxiety where I can't be. She can't be without me. So I was in an impasse that I had to make a decision, and it was either force her to get on truck and put her on medication, or push on with the brokerage. And when I look at it, when you're looking at the aspect of, okay, where do you want to go with your industry? That CDL is your starting gate, right? That's your ticket in, right? So now you're in this system, and you have to understand that logistics is monstrous. It's a huge field. It's not just driving. It's not just that windshield and that truck. I mean, if you have to understand that it's one of the largest industries in the world when it comes to money and things. Roads were built for it. Boats are built for it. Rails are built for it. Planes are built for it. It's in almost every country. And at some point, you either want to decide, where do you want to go with it? So my goal was to say, okay, how do I get myself in a position to be able to work from home and still stay in the field that I'm very good at? Okay. And that was to drive myself up. And at one point, in 2008, I was dead broke. I'm talking, we were behind
with the recession.
Yeah, we were behind on like everything by 4 months. The only thing we were paying on was our house, and our house was like a $30,000 house, man. It definitely was not we were not rolling in the dough. And I just said, I'm not, and I say this on my other shows, I was worth more dead than alive at that point. So I had to make a decision.
Okay.
And at that point, it was like, okay, how do I do this? And I just said, I'm going to absolutely push forward, very slowly and just keep whacking away at this brokerage. And that's what I did to get here.
Okay, so we got, my bad, Laquetta Andrew, if I'm saying your name wrong. Like I said, I feel like a substitute teacher trying to say your name sometimes, bro. Do you have to start another LLC for the brokerage? I have a box truck.
Yeah, and I can get into that. What you're going to want to do is keep the companies completely separate. Okay, do not put them together. And so much that the brokerage is going to be under another LLC. And I even tell you to get another address for the LLC. Keep it completely separate. And the reason for that is a couple things. One, some brokers, when they find out you have a brokerage, they don't want to work with you. Makes them a little nervous, right? Because now you're too much into the game, and they're getting a little bit nervous that you're going to steal customers because you have a truck and a brokerage, and they only have a brokerage. And this is how I tell you to get direct customers also. I'll explain that a little bit later. And from there, you're going to want to have even a separate address, because as a broker, I can look your MC up under the FMCSA filing, and I can actually see if you have a brokerage and a trucking company under the same address, because they're both FMCSA filings.
Yeah, you're right.
So you want to keep that completely separate, so that if something happens to your trucking company, nothing happens to your brokerage. If something happens to your brokerage, nothing happens to your trucking company. And that separates that and keeps both of them protected. The importance of the brokerage is that you get direct customers with it, right? And then all big companies have brokerages. And the reason for that is they run their direct customers down to the brokerage, and then from the brokerage down to the truck. And that's to kind of make that separation between those two companies, because if something happens to the truck, you have to have a freight brokerage to be able to broker it to another truck. You can't broker it from your trucking company.
Okay. So I'm going to ask this. This is my personal question before I get to the other ones. They're more so asking for brokerage training. We're going to get to those. But so how about negotiating rates tactics?
Ooh, yeah. We're gonna drop some gems here. All right. I have sound effects, everybody. All right.
Yeah.
So, here's the big deal about negotiating with brokers. When you're a driver and you're calling a broker, you need to understand the actual process that's going on. Okay. The first process I want you to understand is that load board you're looking at is the minimum wage job opportunity board. That is not the best freight. You want off that board. You want to get those brokers to call you direct because you're good at what you do. If you're good at what you do, customers will come to you. But what happens is, and let me explain it, that broker board, I know nothing about you, right? I don't know you. I'm hoping to find somebody good at what they do, but let's face it, not everybody is, right? Not all. Listen, I hate brokers. I ain't gonna lie. Can't stand brokers. Bad brokers make me a lot of money because I pick on them and I make good money. But what you want to make sure you do is you say, okay, that's an interview. Like when you call me, that's an interview, right? And they're interviewing you as much as you're going to interview them. So what you want to do is when you call, you want to know what their problems are and you want to solve their problems. Their problems are drivers don't communicate well, drivers miss appointments, drivers don't make deliveries, drivers don't call right away when there's problems. They try to fix it themselves. And that's some of the stuff you're going to want to fix. So you have and when you call, and let me give you an example. If you were to call on a load and say, hey, actually, let's do it. You want me to call on a load?
You could. Let me ask this one question, though. So how do you feel about dispatchers and carriers and their relationship? Do you think, carriers should, because you're saying, we should get to where we should start our own brokerage. So do you think us as a carrier, we should look to, try harder to dispatch ourselves to get that direct, relationship with the, shippers or the brokers? Or, because the dispatcher, if they're representing you, they're really going to be the ones, taking that relationship with them, right?
Yeah. So
even if you're the good driver.
Right. Let's back up. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do here is when I call and a dispatcher calls me, the first thing you have to make sure that dispatcher has is power of attorney, basically a power of attorney, right? Because they are going to negotiate rates on behalf of your company, which is your MC number.
Yeah.
And they're going to negotiate that with the broker. If they don't have authority to do that, that's not legal. And that's what the highway bill, they're going to be looking at that aspect of dispatching with the new highway bill. They're actually looking into that. So once you have power of attorney, now that dispatcher can now discuss the rate with that dispatcher, and the broker can discuss the rate with the dispatcher. All right. So we'll establish that that's all set up. So a couple things. If you're not good at I think you should learn to dispatch just to make sure that your dispatcher is doing it right. So you should know how to dispatch your own truck. But at some point, if you wanted to delegate that service to someone else that can sit in front of the computer and build relationships with brokers, it works. It's making sure that you find a good dispatcher who can do that. Now, that being said, if that dispatcher has 5 other trucks it's dealing with, and those other 4 you're the only good truck out of those 4 other trucks, that relationship with that dispatcher, I'm going to look at that dispatcher and say, look, if 4 out of 5, buddy, I can't use you. You know what I mean? You got 1 guy who's good and 4 guys who miss every one of my appointments. So that dispatcher also has to choose who they work with and make sure that the people that they work with are good enough to be represented by them. Because I'm going to look at that dispatcher as the go-to to that truck.
Yeah, you're right. I was actually going to say the more and more I research into dispatching and learning about it, I can kind of see that, they're kind of looked as a fleet owner, because you as a dispatcher can say, hey, I got 15 carriers I dispatch. That's the same thing as having 15 trucks. I got one in this state. I got one in this state. Like, what do you have for me? You know what I'm saying? So,
correct. And if I know that, if I've got stuff like that, like I said, I specialize in oversized, but there are times for my fall off freight, which is my little stuff, my LTL stuff, my hot shot stuff.
Okay.
I'll call a dispatch and guy and say, look, I got this coming up Monday. What you got for me? Because I don't want to post. I hate posting loads because every time I post a load, I don't know what I'm going to get. Yeah. But if I've worked with a dispatcher before, I know what I'm going to get.
Yeah.
And for me, if I have to do more work, meaning I don't know this, it's like paying someone. When you walk in the door, you pay minimum wage, right? Because I don't know how good you are as an employee. And then you prove yourself and you get more money. Well, that load board is that minimum wage job opportunity board. You're walking in the door, and we're going to see if you're any good at what you do. If you are, you're hired. I'm going to keep calling you. If you're not, I ain't calling you. This will be the only load you do for me. That kind of makes sense?
That does. So let me ask you this. How long do you think it'll take you to get that relationship with that broker or with that with that direct shipper, in order to, at what time frame are you saying, he's been doing consistent work for this amount of time?
It could be one load. It could be that phone call. I mean, if I call you up and there are times where, you know what, let's do this. Let's pick a lane. I'm going to do a lane real quick.
Okay.
Let's do a lane, Dallas to Syracuse, New York. Dallas, okay. Syracuse, New York. I think it's like 1,500 miles. So pick a rate that you to do that. 1,500 miles. Let's say what, $2 a mile.
I'm gonna say $3,000. Yeah.
All right. So let's say that it's let's say it's like we're gonna make a load up real quick. I don't know. Let's say it's a hot shot load. Make my life simple. Shot load. It's 10,000 pounds, 30 feet long. It's going from Dallas to Syracuse, New York.
Okay.
Right? Now, wait for it here. Wait for it. I'm going to be the woman in the red dress. You're right now.
You're the good trucker.
Yeah, you're going to be like, wow. Exactly. So listen, you guys are going to be, I got to stick out from the crowd, right? I got to stick out from the crowd. So right there, I know what the load is. So when I call him for the load, now let's say you only want to pay me 25, let's say, right?
In my head, yeah.
You're the broker. I'm the driver.
Okay.
So when I call up, the first thing I'm going to do is I see all the information on the board. I'm going to say, hey, I'm calling about that load going from Dallas to Syracuse, New York, 10,000 pounds, 30 feet long, straps, no tarp. Is that load still available?
Yes, it drops off in 2 days. You already said you have the equipment, but what's your rate on it?
Yeah, I'm looking to be somewhere around 2,800. Can you do 2,800?
I think I can meet you at. I can't do 28. I won't even break even on the low. How about 23?
All right. Why don't we do this? Listen, I'm 30 miles away. I'm empty right now. I understand I understand that your biggest problem as a broker, man, is poor communication. These other guys out here, they're not as good as me. I'm telling you right now. If you can do the 28, I will wrap this thing up like a package. I will show up, call you. I'll call you more than than your wife calls you at home. I'm telling you right now. I will drop this thing off like Santa Claus. Your customer's going to love me. And I guarantee you delivery. If I don't deliver on time, you can pay me $2,000.
What's your MC number?
Now, you don't have to make that guarantee, but even if you would have said, no, I don't have it in it, my first statement would have been, all right, I understand it's probably not you. This is probably one of those pain in the butt customers. Why don't we do this? If you can grab your manager and tell him you got a guy 30 miles away, empty, who knows what he's doing, who's ready to rock and roll on your freight, and I'm ready to work with you, not for you. I guarantee you this, if you put me on all your loads, your customers are going to be like, I love this guy, send him back. That's the type of guy I am. Go to your manager and let's see if you can do 32 on it. Trust me. Go to him and see what he's got in it. I understand you want to go to your manager. Listen, even if you got to go back to your customer right now and tell him you got a guaranteed truck. I mean, right now you can tell him you got a guaranteed truck. I'll wait 30 minutes for this. See if your customer can squeak out 32 for this one, and I'll go grab it.
That's crazy.
I'll go grab it. See, I sold myself to you, basically.
Yeah.
I told you what you wanted to hear. I even gave you a way out. I gave you a way out by you going back. So even when you didn't have the money in it, I gave you an opportunity to call your customer and say, look, I understand we were supposed to be 3,000, but if we can do 35, I'm just making up numbers. I got a guy that can be there in like 40 minutes. Now you're putting the ball in your customer's court. And here I am basically, now all I got to do is do it. Now I got to do what I say, which I will. But it's that selling of yourself. Because what's that broker's biggest problem? Drivers don't show up on time. They don't do what they say. They tell them they're 30 miles away when they're 2 hours away.
Yep, they do.
Exactly. And or they get there and they don't have enough time to do it, or they have a bad attitude, and you can already tell I don't have bad attitude. I'm calling you selling myself. I'm selling myself different than everybody else. I'm sticking out from the crowd for you.
Okay.
Now, as that broker, you have to understand that if he can go back to a lot of times, understand what a broker does. A broker will go to a customer and the customer will say, how much will you charge me for this load? Mm-hmm. And the broker will give them $3,000. But the broker doesn't have a truck at that point, right? So then they use that $3,000 and they try to find a truck. Mm-hmm. Now, they can't just go back to the customer and say, I need more money, because the customer is going to say, how much? And they're going to say, oh, more. Move on, right?
Yeah.
But now you're giving them a reason to be able to go back to their customer with a guaranteed truck.
Okay.
So now you're basically saying, look, I understand your regular truck might not be available. Just tell your customer your regular truck's not available, but somebody better just popped up. And this guy's 30 minutes away, and he can come get it, and he's on the ball, and he's one of my good guys. I deal with him a lot. But his price is a little higher, but he can come grab it. You're allowing that broker to go back to their customer with something to sell.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So this is my biggest thing too, and they're gonna love this. We talked about negotiating rates, and I told you kind of like my tactics and how they weren't the best. And you basically said, brokers' tactics come from supply and demand, not necessarily the national drive-in rates. They don't go based off of, because I thought, a 26-foot box truck being half the size of a 53-foot tractor, it just made more sense to, ask for, maybe a little more than half of the rate, but you can get the same rate as a truckload just because of the fact that the demand for less than a truckload is so high.
Right. So basically, rates are based upon supply and demand. All right. So let's do a little pop quiz. Let's do a little test here. This might get a little boring, but if you're paying attention, you guarantee you'll learn something. All right. So freight travels on a path. That path is raw material, manufacturing, distribution, retail, your hands. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, I know you guys are all thinking, a lot of times you'll see a rate that just last week it was moving for $3 a mile. Now, this week it's only moving for $2 a mile, right? And then you guys are like, those brokers are keeping all the money. They're stealing. You're like, whoa, right? So what happens is last week, that customer might have needed that freight more than they need it this week. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So what happens is when that comes in, that he might have said, I need 10 loads right now. Well, all 10 loads got there. And now that freight, he's full. So he doesn't have to pay $3 or $4 a mile. He can just pay $2 a mile because he's already full. So like with LTL freight now, LTL freight is booming right now. I can tell you 100%. I sent you an article that FedEx dropped 1,400 customers, LTL customers, just because they can't even handle the customers that they have now.
Okay. So let me ask you this though, real quick. Can you explain to, because you're a broker and I know I'm a previous carrier or I'm a carrier. Can you explain to them what a LTL load is? Because a lot of them are spanking new.
Okay. So an LTL load is less than truckload. So an actual LTL load, and if anybody checks my community page, I have a picture on my community page of the LTL. LTL is less than truckload. So an LTL would fit under from obviously 0, but about 500 pounds up to like 15 or 2,000 pounds would be an LTL. Mm-hmm. And it comes in pallets. So you might have 4 pallets, 5 pallets. Okay. A partial or a volume LTL is like 10,000 pounds and like half of a truck. Okay. Up to, let's say 10 that half of that truckload. I was going to pull up my computer page.
Yeah.
Yep. And then a full truckload is obviously a full truckload. Yeah. If you want, I can't show you, but you can link. I'm thinking I'm in control here. This isn't my show. No.
Ah, shoot. Wait, hold on. It's the Great Sage, right?
The Great Freight. Type in the Great Freight.
Hold on. I'm gonna just send a link so I'm not messing up the live. I know that probably look crazy. Hold on. Dang, why does it look like that? Do I look like that?
Wow.
There's a whole string. Hold on, I'm gonna stop it real quick.
All right.
Yeah, hold on.
So with LTL freight, what's going on is right now we have a ton of air freight and we have a ton of containers and things that are coming in. They're at an all-time high. So what's happening is, and even air freight, people are saying, I need everything now. I need it now. It needs to come now. I don't care if you have a full truckload yet. Just send me what you got. So because everybody is sending what they got and sending smaller portions, LTL freight is just coming in massively. Mm-hmm. And at that point, it's in high demand right now. LTL carriers, I know a huge LTL provider that is freight is all over their dock. They are tripping over freight right now because they can't get it out fast enough and they can't find trucks.
Okay. My bad.
Yep.
A dude wanted to, I don't know if you're into stocks, but he wanted to know if we could share some ideas aside from box trucking, like investment on stocks. Where are you on that? How do you feel about investing?
I am not a stock professional.
I just wanted to add that in there.
No, I am. I've done some day trading with stocks per se, yeah. But I am not in any way a stock person, to be honest.
Okay. All right. So how do you feel about recommending paying for brokerage training? If so, why? And I'm gonna just say when. Like, when should a carrier feel comfortable enough to start in their own brokerage?
All right. To be completely honest, right away. And I'll tell you why.
Wow.
To start the brokerage, just so everybody knows, and everybody right now is going to be like, these rat. I already know what you guys are going to say. You guys are going to be, it's going to be bad. All right. So to start a brokerage, it's very cheap. You have to get a surety bond. And that $75,000 surety bond is based on your personal credit. And if anybody wants, I've got a hookup for that. Just shoot me an email and I'll send you a place to go get your bond. Okay. If you have decent credit, I have a 650. My bond for the year is $1,500. Okay. So I got $1,500 in it right now. Then I go and I get my LLC. I'm going to round up to make my life simple. So I know it's not this much, but on the high side, let's say it's $500.
Yeah. So I spent $428. So
all right. So now we're at $2,000. You do your FMCSA filing, just like you would a carrier, but instead of marking carrier, you mark broker general freight. So that's $300. You do your BOC3.
It's like 62.
And then you do your UCR.
It's 25.
Carrier registration, right? You're done.
Wow.
You're set up. You're done. Now, here's why I tell you to get that. The problem with brokerages is you can't get credit from carriers until you've been open for 3 to 6 months. So what I tell people to do is get their brokerage and just let it sit. I have wasted $2,000 every year since I was 20 years old. I've wasted $2,000. My wife buys shoes for probably $2,000 a year. Every year of her life. No, it's not that much, but it is for $2,000. You can make 6 figures. If once you get it going and once you have it, you could easily make 5.
Wow.
My first year when I left Landstar and when I opened up my own brokerage, I was doing oversized freight. I made $282,000, not gross, net.
Okay.
That's the type of money you can make. Now, am I saying it's easy? No, it is not easy. It is a mental game.
That's what I was going to ask you. So if you've had the experience of a company driver, owner, operator, which one was being harder, being a broker or, a carrier? And if so, for which one, why?
The broker's harder. It's absolutely harder. It's not as physical as the driving, but the broker is 100% because it's all mental game. I'm not just dealing with my truck. I could be dealing with 50 trucks. Okay. So now I've got 50 problems and I've got customers with those 50 trucks and I've got all this stuff going on. And it's a huge mental game. Now let me end this. Broker classes, I teach a broker class, and I'm not just saying this because I teach one. I started it for the sole purpose that there are so many YouTubers teaching broker classes. I have not found one. Not one that I ask 3 questions. I tell people, you come to me and I'll ask you 3 questions. If you can answer my 3 questions, you should be brokering freight. I have not found one person to answer those 3 questions who have taken other people's classes. Not one.
Yeah, I'm scared to hear those questions, but I say just keep them wrapped up and
right. And I can't give them out. Questions that if you don't know, you should not be brokering freight. Because what you have to understand is that although these other classes will teach you how to make $200, if you don't know what I'm teaching you, you could lose $100,000. So it's not just about that. But like I said, it's a mental game because there are times I sign contracts and I'll do things that if I quote the wrong price, and let's say I quote $5,000 for a load and I can't find a truck for it, and somebody else comes in for $8,000, I have to pay the difference between the $5,000 and the $8,000 because I committed that quote and that customer committed to moving that freight with their customer for that price.
Okay.
And just like, we talked about earlier here's a perfect example of one, just so everybody wants to know a couple tricks. First trick, end of the day, end of the week.
I was going to ask you that. I was just about to ask you.
Yeah, end of the day, end of the week, end of the month. Those are your hot freight times. At the end of the day, end of the week, end of the month, you ask for more money than you do at the beginning of the day, at the beginning of the week, and at the beginning of the month. You'll get more money at those times. Why? They got to get it out by today, got to get it out by Friday, or they have to get it out by the end of the month. Understand that when customers are on usually monthly obligations to get freight out, right? They're called performance contracts. If I buy 5,000 feet of pipe a month, they better ship 5,000 feet of pipe a month. If they don't, my job site can be held up. So what I do as a project management company is I come in and say, if you don't ship 5,000 feet of pipe, I'm going to charge you $10,000 a day. If you don't get it out by the end of the month. This is why, which you've probably all heard, there are times you'll go to a shipper and it's like, it's got to go, it's got to go, it's got to go, it's got to go. And then you get to the receiver and they're like, yeah, we don't need this for a month. Because that shipper was under contract that it had to get out or they would have had to pay a lot of money or they would be in breach of their contract. So it doesn't matter that they were ready to receive it. The shipper had to get it off their property. You had to sign for it for them to be not obligated to be charged back for not getting it out on time.
Okay, so let me ask you this. You said how LTLOs, they're basically booming right now. They're almost as big of a demand as truckload loads, right?
Correct.
So how long do you think that'll last? Or do you think this is the beginning?
I think it's the beginning. And the reason I think it's the beginning is that, and because what's going on too is if you look at the big trucks, you'll see a lot of big trucks leaving with multiple stops. Like they're going out with 4, 5, 6, 7 stops where they don't normally do that. Okay. So what's happening is they're trying to, because there's such a shortage of, well, it's not really a shortage of truck as much as it is a massive amount of volume. Okay. That they're basically trying to ship this stuff, combining on big trucks just to get it out. But what's happening is customers are saying, I need this now. I don't care what it costs. Put it on a plane. I need a computer chip. Get me these chips. And at that point, they're just shipping these chips and they're putting it out. Oh, I know that guy. Great Freight Stage Logic. That's him.
Yeah, make sure y'all subscribe and got the post notice on, man. I already got it. But let me go to your community, bro.
Yeah, go to the community page.
I just want, because I know people that probably don't even get it.
That's the what happened?
I clicked on it.
Okay, that is the LTL, partial volume, and truckload. Kind of that understanding of it.
So we're trying to see why this is a more high demand than them basically going for a truckload.
Because right now they need the warehouses are filling up, basically, and they've got to start getting the stuff out because they're in such a high demand and so much is coming in of it. So many people are just saying, ship whatever you have. I don't care. Ship whatever you have. Put it on a plane. Let me put it this way. Peterbilt is using their private jets. The big boys' private jets to fly and pick up parts so that they can build trucks. They're actually saying, we'll just go get it ourselves. Fire up the jet. And it's going nonstop, private jets.
Yeah.
Pick up parts.
So they can do it quick.
So that they can build trucks. Because they're so behind on parts. So at this point, a lot of stuff is hitting air freight. Air freight's always LTL. A lot of stuff is hitting smaller containers, whatever they can ship it in to get it here. And it is just becoming the part where they're just shipping whatever they've got when they can and shipping it to them. So even if they don't have a full truckload yet, they're just like, ship 5 pallets. That's all we got right now. Well, the container's here. Load it up and go. And it's just send it, baby.
Okay. So there are any really like last big tips you could give to all the new carriers out there that's not even necessarily going towards starting their own brokerage, but just negotiating tactics, just like you said, selling yourself, because I don't know if there are any more new people. If y'all are in here, by the way, hit that like button. I think we're probably going to stay on for another 5 minutes. I don't want to take too much of his time,
This joint, please hit the like button. All right.
Y'all see he got the dope studio. I'm surprised y'all not asking a question. What's up? What's up, Herbert? But if y'all got any last question, last remarks, y'all go. This is probably the best time to go ahead. I know we're trying to be more interactive. I got to do better with these live streams.
That's how it comes. It takes a little bit, but eventually it comes, and you start to roll with it. Basically, just whatever you guys do, just understand that that's an interview. You're interviewing them, and they're interviewing you. You want to be the best interview you can to get the job. Look at it as a job. And look at it as that's going to be an employer. If he sucks as an employer, don't haul freight for him again. But if he has good loads, treat it like that and try to move up to management position. And that management position is you're no longer looking at the load board, and he's now calling you direct. And if it was a good load and you like him, at the end of that load, say, look, man, I like doing this load for you. You got any more freight for me? Just call me direct, bro. Just don't even post it. Call me direct. Tell him you want more of his business. And at that point, you're teaching yourself how to basically say, okay, how to talk to him and how to get more of his business. Because remember, understand that a broker isn't just a broker. He's your actual sales force, right? I mean, you guys came into this without a sales force. You have no sales force. That broker is your actual sales department. He's going out and it's for free. You have a free sales department. He's going out and basically saying, hey, go out and get me freight and bring it back to me. And he's doing that for you.
Okay.
Yep. Load boards for LTL freight. What are you basically using?
I'm DAT, man. I'm nice and simple, but I'm pretty sure you got some gems to drop.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the same thing. So it depends on what you're pulling. So because if you're looking at open deck is truck stop. Any type of
hot stop. I know I'm gonna probably have to switch over for that, but for box trucks I did.
Right. So the other one is going to be obviously is going to be DAT board. That's the biggest, right? Okay. And then if you're looking for LTL on like flatbed, step deck, open deck, it's going to be truck stop. If it's van and box, it's going to be DAT board.
Okay. All right. Let's see right here. Let me say this real quick before he said this is not a dispatcher, y'all. I don't know if this is just a question you want to ask me. But I think a lot of my subs, too, they're confused with the difference between a broker and a dispatcher. He or she may not. How does it? Carrier? I'm not even going to try it. But I think carrier? Carrier? All right, let me stop. Okay, but I'm going to say anything less than 10% for a new carrier is decently fair, considering you have a new authority. But anything over 10%, you should reconsider, unless it includes factoring. But a broker is a shipper representative and a dispatcher is a carrier representative. So he doesn't represent the carrier. He represents the shipper. And, Correct. He doesn't work for them. He works with them.
Correct. I have an actual MC number. I actually have an MC number from the FMCSA. I am legally able to take freight from a shipper and put it on a carrier. That's what technically a broker is, or a logistics person. That's what they actually do. They have that MC number for that.
Okay. And I just wanted to clear that so nobody okay, this is a good question. Should we avoid Amazon altogether? Because Amazon is like really probably one of the biggest industries that people from, I'm gonna just say 26-foot box truck, that community, they love it. They love Amazon, and I think people are only coming for Amazon, but the rates in Amazon, they're not perfect, especially if you don't have a semi. And it ends up tend to be like the rates make it look like they're almost working for Amazon. It's all touch freight. Usually it's always a full load of, 12 pallets full in the back of the truck, and they got to put it on themselves, you know. So how do you feel about Amazon if you've been, you know?
So Amazon has a system in regards to you. The better you do with them, the higher you get to premium pricing, right? You get better paying loads, the better you do. It's something that you're just like we talked about when you started out at the low point and you're going to build up. So when it comes to different things, it's difficult to say should you avoid it. If it's working for you in your area, use it and find out. But it's one of those things that you're going to get what you put into it. So if you're on time, you're doing a good job, eventually you get better rates. But it's hard to say it's Amazon altogether because some terminals of Amazon, some dispatching centers of Amazon are better than others for the type of equipment you have.
Exactly.
So I wouldn't ignore. If you use all the tools you possibly can. If Amazon's a tool to get you out to find for something back, then use it if it works for you. Use it until it no longer works for you at that point, and then you have to move on. Business isn't about do one way. Business has got to be fluid, right? It's constantly changing. And business models change and things like that. And when you stand still, you know, the reason you know you survive is evolution. It's not survival of the fittest, it's evolution. If you can evolve, you will survive longer. Exactly. So evolve with the business and see what works, and when it stops working, find something else as quickly as you can.
And also don't compare yourself to other carriers. Like what may work for other, you know, I'm gonna just say content creators and people, they may have a different, you know, cost per mile or cost to operate their vehicle. You know, and you may be renting, you know, with high overhead, and the numbers may not make sense for you. So just do more research on you specifically and knowing what you can carry. And that'll probably answer your question itself. How do you feel about this, man? Partialing the mess out of them. You know, are you more negotiating to better rates for a smaller amount of loads so you can do a couple of stops? Because this is kind of like the same thing that dry vans are doing. How do you feel about that?
All right, so I've tried partial today under $1 a mile. It is based on a lot of things. One thing is where is it putting you? If it's putting you in a position to get you into a better load, or are you just doing it to end up in the middle of nowhere? Maybe not so good. So too many times people chase the dollars rather than the lanes, and understanding that. So putting partials together can work, but you also want to see where it ends up. If you end up in the middle of Wyoming, you know what I'm saying? Compared to you end up in Atlanta. You see what I'm saying? So under $1 a mile, it also is based on what is your overall cost to run your equipment.
Yeah, I got a good question too.
All right.
So, and I was going, I ain't mean, I know I'd be interrupting people sometimes. I ain't mean to. If I did, as far as that, like, freak, it was just on the tip of my tongue. That's why I got it. Yeah. So, dang it was just there. It was a good question though. Like as far as taking loads like that, do you think people that take they call it cheap freight, right? I'm sorry, guys. So do you think people taking those rates under $1 a mile, even if it works for them, do you think people like that are cancer to the trucking community? Like,
oh boy, here we go.
Yeah.
Back with that word cheap freight. All right. What is cheap freight?
I just refer to it as anything under my cost to operate. And it's like, if it's a 26, if I got a 26-foot box truck and I got 26 feet of freight, if it's less than $1.50, $1.40 a mile because it's my cost to operate, I see it as cheap freight to me because it just doesn't make sense for me to take it.
All right. Cheap freight is like Einstein's theory of relativity.
Okay.
Right? Time is relative. Cheap freight is relative. I know an owner-operator of a tractor-trailer that can run for like 75 cents.
Shoot.
All right. So is that cheap freight to him? No. He's doubling his profit at $1.50.
Yeah, you're right.
He'll straight up tell you he will run that all day long if he has to put you out of business. He'll run that all day. Now, so cheap freight to you is different than cheap freight to someone else. Should you take cheap freight? You need to know a couple things. One, how much does it cost to move my truck? Just to move my truck, meaning my fuel and things.
Insurance,
how much does it cost to run my truck? I mean, just to move your truck is the price of fuel.
Okay, you're right.
Basically, and then how much to run your truck? That's all your expenses. And then how much for me to live driving this truck? Those are three different prices. So you have to decide, can I move the freight for this? Okay, I can with fuel price. Will this cover my costs? Okay, it will cover my cost. will I turn a profit and will I be able to buy a dollar menu? Well, sure, I'd be able to buy one item on the dollar menu, but will it get me out of here? Or should I leave here and technically you're making negative money driving empty?
Yeah, and okay. So what about making negative and the difference between that and barely, I guess, breaking even as far as salary? Not even breaking even. You're not even making a profit. You think it's worth just getting out of a bad area if you put yourself in that situation?
Well, you should have
had to do it sometime.
If you go in, then you get the money going in, and then if you can take a 50 cents a dollar out, you're still not losing any money going in.
You're right.
And then, but I'm not talking go cross country for 50 cents. Trust me. All right. But if it's going to get you from Miami to Jacksonville and it's paying 50 cents, and it's 5,000 pounds, put me in, coach. I'm not saying, a tractor trailer. I'm not telling him to haul 80,000 pounds for 50 cents a mile to get there. That's a different situation. So it's one of those things you have to constantly, this is what I'm talking about business. These are the decisions and the mental game you have to constantly play. And being a business owner, there's a lot of math. Math is hard. And we have calculators. But it's one of those things that you just have to know numbers. If you can master the number game, you got half your business over. Half of your business is going to be a number game, ones and zeros.
And what I try to tell a lot of myself too, like don't look at, all of your lows as load by load. Like don't look at your rates as like this one rate at the beginning of the week determines my rate for the rest of the week,
Correct. So like I said, if you got $4 a mile going in and you can get $1 a mile or 89 cents coming out just to get you to Jacksonville, because in Jacksonville you can take another $4 a mile going to Ohio, just making stuff up. Do it. Because now you're at least profitable and you're at it. Because people are like, well, that's going to, I'm running my truck and that's extra weight. Your truck's going to break. It's going to break. It doesn't matter if it's hauling freight or not, right? At some point, if it's going to break, it's going to break. Now, don't max it out for that dollar. But there were a lot of times I've sent trucks $6, $7, $8, $9 a mile with an oversized load into Florida. And then we took a partial out of there for $1 just so my driver could basically make something coming out.
Pay for his fuel.
For his fuel, make a little bit of money, and then set himself up into Atlanta where we could take another oversized load someplace else. So it's just doing it right and taking a look at the lanes. But the biggest thing is don't chase the money, chase the lanes. Right? You chasing money. The reason something pays $5 a mile to go to Wyoming is because there's nothing in Wyoming to come out. But if you can chase lanes like Atlanta's a monstrous lane, Chicago's a monstrously big lane. If you can run lanes,
Illinois is probably the best.
What Illinois?
Yeah, I say Illinois is probably the best.
Illinois. If you're in Illinois and you can get down to Atlanta, you grab the Atlanta, you're going to go back to Illinois. Chase those lanes. Chase the hot lanes, not the hot dollars. And by doing that, you'll stay consistency. And consistency is the name of the game. Because that's when people are consistent and you got money coming in, it's way better than just chasing the high dollar rate and then finding out, there's a reason it's a high dollar rate going in the middle of the nowhere, because you're in the middle of nowhere.
All right, bet. So unless you got anything else, Great Sage, this is not his last time coming, y'all. I think we need more value. I need more value, off live to speak with this man about some
put my link in the thing.
Yeah. You send that over to me. I'm gonna put it, but because this is gonna post at 4 p.m. So if you missed any of it, it's gonna re-upload. Like I said, this is a great video, man. It's probably this is probably one of the best. I'm not even gonna lie.
Like I said, and anybody that's really interested in it, I've got an email on there. I'm an honest broker in a world of liars. Trust me, bro. I do not like brokers. There you go. They're trying to get out of Salt Lake City right now. Perfect example of what somebody ran into Salt Lake City. It pops. There's a little bit of a delay on StreamYard there is compared to the other one.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't do a ton of box freight, but the basic understanding of brokerage and logistics and trucking, I go over, and it's for everybody basically. If you can understand it with a big truck, it's the same logic with a small truck.
I got you. All right, man. So that concludes this live. Everybody like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time, man.
All right. See you.